Premier League champions head to Kenilworth Road for the second time this season on Tuesday night when Manchester City are the visitors to take on Luton Town in the fifth round of the FA Cup. Alongside me to preview the game, as always, the Lutonian journalist James Cunliffe. Jimbo, you ready to slay the giant of all giants?
Sure, yeah. That doesn't sound very confident, does it? Come on, you ass.
We'll look at the game after this intro.
Can you believe it? We are Premier League! Yes!
I love this town. I love this town. I love this town. You know what I love about this town is actually you. Everyone in it has got this massive soul.
We're Luton people, and that's what we care about.
Welcome along to another episode of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast. As I said before the intro, we are previewing the FA Cup fifth round tie against Manchester City at Kenilworth Road, Tuesday night, 8 p.m. If you haven't got a ticket for this one and you're in the UK, ITV1 is your destination for this game if you want to watch it live. James, they've obviously already been here this season, Man City, but they didn't get the full Kenny experience, did they? That was a Sunday afternoon with the sun shining. This is going to be nice under the floodlights. For the second time in 3 years, the club world champions are in town. Gave Chelsea a good run for our money 3 years ago. Can we go one better and take this lot out?
The big questions, eh? It's going to be tough. Having just come off the back of playing Liverpool, arguably the most informed side based on that performance, the second half one. So playing Man City, who had their noses slightly put out of joint in the same way at the Kenny earlier in the season. I think Luton are a different side since then. That was sort of the beginnings of this side they're currently turning into, albeit that Elijah may not feature. We wait to hear on that. And Sambi and Doughty as well, I suppose. We'll come on to those, but I think also Manchester City are better as well. They seem to always be better after the turn of the year, and now they've got De Bruyne and Haaland back, and Doku didn't play last time, so whether they do this time remains to be seen, but yeah, they're pretty good, aren't they?
They're not bad. Yeah, obviously the current FA Cup holders, they've got to be beaten at some point, haven't they? And I do believe if we were going to beat Manchester City in this competition, this is it. This is the last midweek round. The rest of them are all, well, the next one's over daytime, and then we're off to Wembley. And as much as I love this club, us beating Manchester City, at Wembley does seem a little far-fetched, I have to say. If we're going to get them, we're going to get them on our patch, under the floodlights and that magical atmosphere that we always create. But are we going to get the full force of Manchester City in terms of team selection, James? And I say that because on this occasion, I mean, we mentioned in the Liverpool review podcast the way that they had 36 hours on us. Well, we've got an absolute clean go at this. 6 days since we played Liverpool. They played Bournemouth on Saturday evening. They've got the 5:30 kickoff away to Bournemouth. Not the easiest trip of all time. So they've got to negotiate that. After that, on the Sunday, they've got the small matter of a Manchester derby, which the way Manchester United have suddenly come to life, it might be a more competitive game than it might have been, say, a month ago. They're still not completely through in the Champions League. I think they'll see Copenhagen off, don't get me wrong. And then not too far in the distance, they've got a juicy little clash with Liverpool in the Premier League, which might go all the way to deciding the destination of the title. So something surely has to give at some point, if not to everyone, certainly to one or two. And I'm thinking Haaland in particular here, who's only just back from injury himself, and maybe Doku, as you just mentioned. Might it be that we get a similar side to the side that they put out down here in the league game, where really for an hour there wasn't a great deal between the two sides?
I hope so. It'd be more preferable than those three players playing, because they are exceptional. They are some of the... I mean, Doku is only having his first season with Man City, but he's been impressive at the beginning of that. But Haaland and De Bruyne are world class, and if if they're not up for Ballon d'Ors in the coming years, I'd be very surprised, but particularly Haaland, but De Bruyne is different gravy as well. So I'm not one of those that particularly wants to see them in the flesh. I'm not that bothered at all. I want the team that came down last time, but then again, they were pretty tasty as well. At the time, we were crowing about Phil Foden as being one hell of a footballer, and Grealish had a decent game as well. And even though they were missing Haaland through injury, they still had a World Cup winning striker playing on their side. So it's not like they're a bunch of mugs. So the weaker they want to play it, the better. But they're still exceptional.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I'm really not bothered about seeing Haaland. But there is a part of me that wants to see if Barkley can do De Bruyne, because he's done the rest of this midfield, hasn't he? He controlled Rodri, he controlled Bernardo Silva. I can't remember everyone that they had in there, but obviously Phil Foden was another one. He ran that midfield. So if he can tick De Bruyne to his list as well, that would be kind of lovely. But I'm very much of the sort of opinion, and this is going to get trotted out so much ahead of the game. And of course, we're doing this long before Rob's press conference, which will take place on Monday. But it's going to be that thing, do we lose and concentrate on the league? No bollocks, do we? We give this everything we've got. We are 4 wins away from the FA Cup win, and all the benefits that come with it. And if it just so happens that comes to the detriment of the league, then so be it. But so yeah, I'd be more than happy if De Bruyne isn't playing, but there is a part of me that would love to see that battle in midfield, De Bruyne against Barkley.
Okay, you on your own then. I mean, I'd like to see Barkley.
How about I see it for 5 minutes? Bring him on at 85 minutes, Pep.
Okay, I'll give you that one. Yeah, no, he is some player. He really is. As good as Barkley is at the moment and the season he's having, he's been doing it at the elite level of football for years, really. How Chelsea let him go in the first place, I don't know, because he's gone away to Germany and come back much a different player, and he's exceptional. You only had to see that first game back after his injury. He came on, he was the difference. And a lot of the time, you're talking about players need to get back up to speed after they've been out for such a long time through injury. But I suppose if you're the sort of quarterback player that Kevin de Bruyne is, I mean, that's not all he is, but that's one of his main strengths. You can just ping balls of exceptional quality here and there, and you've got world-class strikers, once-in-a-generation strikers, World Cup winners, English forwards that should really be always in the England side but aren't, because Gareth Southgate's a bit of a silly boy. Yeah, there's a lot to aim at.
Yeah, there is. At least, and I'm not going to portray this as anything other than a tough night at the office, is obviously going to be that if we can catch a couple of sort of supposedly weaker versions of Manchester City players in much the same way that we did against Liverpool and allowed us to lead them for 44 minutes, then you just don't know. This time we'll have the crowd behind us and we'll be giving it that second half experience that we copped full pelt at Anfield. That's for sure. Yeah. Yeah, you've convinced me then. We'll just see De Bruyne just for a few minutes. If we do see him just for a few minutes, then it's obviously going very, very well, isn't it? Because if they're 2 or 3 to the good, they're not going to bring him on. So that would be a compliment to us, really.
Yeah, it will be. Maybe they could just bring him out for the warm-up and he can take a session or something. You can see him then. Shooting practice. There you go. That would do.
I mean, you called him world class a minute ago, and you're right. He's actually universe class, isn't he? For me, he's the best player on the planet right now. Taking away the fact that Ronaldo and Messi are past their peak. Obviously, when they were at the peak, they were significant. I think De Bruyne is absolutely fantastic. He's even got great bloody hair as well, hasn't he? I mean, there's nothing wrong with this bloke. It's and then, of course, Haaland. I mean, Jesus. Like you say, even if they haven't got Haaland, it's Alvarez. I mean, the fellow Oscar Bob, even he suddenly appeared out of nowhere in the last couple of months as well. So if it's not Doku, it might be him. We don't know the situation with Jack Grealish. He's been out injured recently, hasn't it? But the one thing you'll say about this City side is they give you chances. Chelsea could have had a lot more than what they did have against them last weekend. Generally, teams do score. I know Brentford didn't score against them on last Tuesday night. But generally, teams do have a chance against them. And we, obviously we scored against them at our place and had another couple of sort of sniffs and things. So we know we're going to get chances. It's just obviously we might have to repel quite a few attacks. But if they have got their eyes on other things, that's going to make it competitive at the very least.
Absolutely. It's going to have to be one of those where Luton play to their maximum again and they have an off day or something of that ilk that takes them from their usual exceptional standards to something a bit below. You can't go toe to toe with them. And as that showed at Kenilworth Road, they had a lot of the ball. It's just Luton shut down the spaces. The difference, I suppose, now at the moment, the last 3 games, defensive mistakes and lapses of concentration have crept in. They've cost quite a few goals, really. And if you can't be doing that against Manchester City, I mean, you definitely can't do it against Haaland. But even if you give Foden a sniff like that, then he scored a hat-trick last week, didn't he? So you have to be absolutely top of your game. And I guess maybe, as we talked about in the last podcast, if there's going to be some learning from that Liverpool game, it is the 100% concentration switched on all the time, even when the ball goes out. We're not necessarily going to have ball boys happy to give Man City the ball back really quickly if you knock it out into touch and stuff, but you can't go to sleep at set pieces and live to tell the tale against Man City. So yeah, it's going to be a big task. It was the toughest draw possible in that FA Cup when it was coming out, and when you're watching the draw and all the teams are going out.
Coventry, Maidstone, Luton, Man City. Why that one?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not that we haven't played them this season already. We don't have to do it 3 times this season, do we? But this is the second of third. So yeah, if you're going to do it the hard way, this is the hardest way I think possible, with the exception of probably Liverpool after what we saw at the weekend, because in midweek, because wow, they were good.
I think I've referenced on this podcast before that I've said that it's all written for Luton versus Liverpool to be Klopp's last game in charge in the FA Cup final, Barkley scoring the winner. Let's scrap that. I don't want to go anywhere near that lot again. They don't want none of that. Not again. Someone else beat Liverpool, please. Don't see it happening anytime soon, though, unfortunately. Well, one person who probably a definite starter because he hasn't been rested or dropped, or he's getting more responsibility in this City side, is Phil Foden, who was just exceptional in that league game down here. I know he didn't score, and I don't actually think he registered an assist either. I think it was Bernardo Silva who scored and got the assist for the other one, or Alvarez got one of the assists. But he did everything but. He has the quickest feet I think I've ever seen. And someone's got to keep him quiet. You don't know where he plays, do you? He'll either play behind Alvarez, or if Alvarez and Haaland are both playing, he'll play one of the 2 wide positions. But wherever he is, we've got to make sure we know where he is, because Jesus, he looks damn good. I mean, there's no way Gareth can't pick him in the first 11. There's just not. He's just too good. You have to pick a team and put him in it somewhere.
Well, yeah, before we get to that City question, yeah, you do. Yeah, there's players that England currently have that you have to put in the side and build around them. Bellingham's one of them. Foden's another one. And any other option is just the wrong option as far as I'm concerned. We saw that at Kenilworth Road with Foden. His speed of thought, his quickness of feet, his almost perfect ability with the ball to keep it off other people or get past you in a tight spot. The protection of the football is incredible. Yeah, we've not been accustomed to stuff like that before. We just haven't. It's not, it's different. I talked about in the last podcast that playing Liverpool in that second half was almost like a different sport, and it's like he's playing one as well because he is that good. So yeah, how you pick him up, God knows, because he doesn't play in a normal role. It's a very fluid thing that he's allowed to do, and he's got this freedom, which is very, very dangerous. I mean, Luton did until the equaliser. Closed down the spaces very well. They made it very difficult for Manchester United to play those balls through, and still they got through on a couple of occasions. As good as that game was from a Luton perspective, we know that Luton have to ride their luck in certain areas against massive teams, and that was the case on them. So hopefully the luck's with Luton again. Or Thomas Kaminski plays out his skin like he did.
If it's Kaminski, we'll come on to that in a minute.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. It could be cruel. A lot of things are going to have to go Luton's way for a result.
Yep, it is. Let's work on the assumption that Haaland doesn't start, James. I mean, they've got something like 8 or 9 fixtures in a month from the time he come back against the Brentford game. So you can't possibly bring someone back from near enough 3 months out or 2 months out or whatever it was, and then expect him to play all 9 games. So I'm expecting this to be the one that he.
He's a machine, though, isn't he?
He is,
it's
but
like
it's just not
unnatural, like Ivan Drago, Rocky type machine, isn't he? That he's got some weird. Like nutritional stuff and the things he does to breathe better at night and all this stuff that has been well documented in the press. That
not Andros Townsend weird nutrition, is it? It's not that weird.
No,
but it's it's still pretty weird. Yeah, I mean I still can't see him playing every single game. I think at best he's on the bench in this one, and I hope I'm right. But even then, Alvarez, World Cup winner, like you said, playing a lot more football this season. Last season he was in and out of the side, wasn't he, because of Haaland, and then they had other players for the other positions, like Mahrez would be out on the right and taking that position, and Grealish was so good on the left, so there wasn't many positions. But I mean, he looked really good at Kenilworth Road as well, didn't he? And he's another one that we've got to watch. We all thought he handballed it, didn't we, for the winning goal, and as it turned out he didn't. And then rolled it on a plate for Grealish to score. So just because Haaland may or may not be there, this guy's still every bit as dangerous. And whoever that centre person is in the defence, that probably will still be Osho. Needs to keep very, very, very close tabs on him.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you just look at it broad brush strokes, Haaland is just a brute, isn't he? He scores all types of goals, admittedly, but it's so powerful. Whereas I think Alvarez is a lot cuter and a clever finisher and stuff like that. It's dangerous whichever way you slice it. He's a World Cup winner and played very well in that tournament as well. And it'll probably be that at the top of their teams for years to come, because he's very young still. So he's a very good, very, very good. Not even a backup, is he? He's just if the right one don't get, the second one, the left one will. Yeah,
indeed.
I haven't been paid to get boxing references in that last 5 minutes, by the way. I felt like it.
I was going to say, there's only Mike Tyson and Tyson Fury left, isn't there? The other one that I think he had a quieter game, not to say that he was quiet, but a quieter game at Kenilworth Road was Rodri. But in more recent times, he seems to always be popping up on the edge of the box. He scored against Chelsea last weekend, albeit with a deflected shot. But he seems to be getting into positions to shoot a lot more. And if there's one thing that, people can fire long-range shots in at us, we do sometimes sort of go to sleep on the edge of our box and let them fire them in. And he is very dangerous at that. So just because he's billed as the defensive midfielder, don't take your eye off him, because he's got a shot on him. And if the ball gets rolled out to him, one of the midfielders just get out to him and get a block in, because he's starting to shoot more and more. And he'll be a threat. I'm pretty sure he'll definitely play.
Yeah, he's much more than just a defensive midfielder. I feel he's got a goal. I mean, he obviously scored the winner in the Champions League final, didn't he, from a similar position. I feel that has almost now become like a signature goal for him. It almost feels like the England rugby team of old, when Johnny Wilkinson would drop into a pocket for a drop goal. It's just like he's there waiting for it when it drops out, and it almost always does come in the vicinity, and then he's got a decent shot on him. Very Lampard-esque as well, although he was more sort of arriving in the box late. But he's an incredible footballer, isn't he? I don't watch a lot of Spanish football, but he wasn't playing for one of the big two, was he? And they've picked out an absolute gem there.
Yeah, they have. So they're the three that we've definitely got to watch. Obviously, we've got to watch Haaland if he plays, and Doku likewise, but I think we are going to work along the assumptions that they may not play the whole game. Ditto De Bruyne, but if they do, might be in a spot of bother. Let's turn the attention to the home side. Luton. Tim Krul's played every single FA Cup game and League Cup game this season. So from that point of view, you would imagine he would come into the side. But is this just, sorry, mate, but we're playing Man City now. We need our strongest 11 possible. And ultimately, Kaminsky is playing at a level that you're not playing at the minute.
I think that's a very difficult situation, I think, because it can affect morale if he's sort of under the expectation that he'll play the cup games at very least, then and there's not going to be many more, even if Luton get through. I think it would be harsh. I'm not sure Edwards is like that in his selections. I think he rewards good play, as we've seen with Teeth Chong recently and getting his start. But I think he'd probably be quite true to his. I was going to say word. I don't know what the word is on them. I've got no inside info on that. But just that he's played Krul in all the cup games would strike me that he'd continue that.
I mean, if we can get them to penalties, and we should stress that the replays are no more in this cup. We're on the day from here on in. If we can get them to penalties, we're all right. Because didn't Holland bring Tim Krul on in the World Cup just to save penalties in a penalty shootout? I'm sure it was him that they brought on, and so he must be good at saving penalties. I mean, to be fair, he hasn't particularly shown much cop of saving much in these cup games that he has played, but he's obviously better than what he's shown us. So if we can get into penalties and Tim Krul's in goal, happy days.
Yeah, we're okay on penalties now, aren't we? After that, I wouldn't mind that.
They got Darbo.
No, they haven't got anyone like Darbo.
Oh, damn.
They haven't got anyone like him. I reckon they've got a whole squad of players that can whip it into the top corner from 12 yards.
I bet their best penalty taker is Edison. He is so good with the ball at his feet, and I hope we don't say. In fact, we probably won't. Every team switches their goalkeeper in the cup, don't they? I can't remember who their backup is, but it will be him. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me were Edison on the pitch if he came up and took like penalty 1 or 2 or something if we get it into a shootout, because he does fancy himself with the ball at his feet, doesn't he? And quite rightly so. He's damn good at it. But they're not good at penalties, though, are they? They do miss a lot of penalties. I can't remember the exact statistic, but they've gone through a lot of penalty takers anyway. And maybe that's our chance. Park that bus, park everything, and get them to penalties. And who knows? Yeah, we think Tim Krul might well be in goal. And that's fair enough. Listen, we're still not out of the woods with Kaminsky with regards to, I mean, he could get injured at any moment, but, you know, he's still got a collection of yellow cards on his ledger, and we're still in the 10. He's nowhere near 10, but he only takes a run of them if we start winning games and he gets booked for time wasting. We're still in that 10 yellow card vicinity for a suspension. So, you know, Krul needs game time, basically, in case something does happen to Kaminsky. He's not going to get it in the league. So it would make sense to come in this game. We know we've got no Issa Kabore in this game. Unlike the Bundesliga, where the Bayern Munich fella scored for Bayer Leverkusen against Bayern Munich in that game last week. That's not happening in this country. May we see Mr. Hashioka, though, down that right-hand side. He's got to start at some point. And if you don't want to jump him into a Premier League game, a game with little sort of long-term knock-on effect might be the one to get him in. And Maybe we see the January signing. I'm sure he'll be asked about in the press conference, and that'd be lovely, actually, wouldn't it? That add a sort of extra interest in the dynamic to this game.
Yeah, you and I have both suspected that would be his first shout for an instruction, and I've not wavered from that since. I think it would be. It's not a free hit for him. He's going to be up against a hell of a team, but it would be the first Premier League experience, albeit in the cup, wouldn't it? And it's going to be an elite Premier League experience. So, you play him at home as well. The fans will get behind him as well. Everybody's quite keen to see what he can do. I think that's a good shout for him to come in.
It would also allow us to play Chio in other areas of the pitch, which we may or may not have cover in, particularly sort of up front. As I said, we are doing this before the press conference, so we're working along the assumption that Alfie and Sambi won't be risked.
I am, yeah. I don't think there's any point in it. I know there's the weighing up of is the cup important, or do you just concentrate on the league and stuff? But I think when you're in it, you've got the chance. You're at home, albeit it's the hardest tie. You've still got the opportunity to go through. You want to put out a decent, strong side, but at the same time, I don't think it's worth risking those two players if they were,
I mean, if they're
touch and go.
100% fit, you play them. But if they're 95% fit, 90% fit, you don't. You save them for Villa.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think so. I think the Doughty one, just looking at it with no info on it so far, I think it's more like a block challenge which jars you, but hopefully you'd be okay on it. The hamstrings one is more of a worry because he's been out for 2 months with a hamstring already this season, and so have a number of other players, and we know how long it took to get back. If it's just a tweak, then I would favour resting him against City because he's going to be so needed for the rest of the season.
Yeah, impact versus, I mean, with Sambi's hamstring, it's literally just wear and tear and relentless nature of the games, isn't it? So if it's relentless nature of the games, why give him another game on top? You might as well just give him the extra 3 or 4 days to rest that. And, we're due a Pelly banger, so stick him in and let him write another sort of chapter in his incredible history with us.
Also, I suppose the way the games have fallen, with the Liverpool one being the Wednesday, which is where he tweaked it, there's no game at the weekend. The Man City game comes on a Tuesday, and then you've got Crystal Palace.
Aston Villa, sorry.
You've got Aston Villa at the weekend after that. There's a decent amount of time there to assess it, and maybe if it's not that bad, let it recover some more. I think that you use this opportunity where there's a bit of a break to give him the rest he needs.
Yep, I would certainly agree with that. And also with regards to Alfie Doughty, it's not a great change really for Amari Bell to go and play left wing back and Reece Burke to come into whichever position, whichever way they work the back three out, a back three of Osho, Burke and Mengi. You're not losing anything there other than a little bit of left-sided balance, but whoever it is on that Manchester City right is going to cut inside anyway, because whether it's Bernardo Silva or whether it's Foden, they're both going to cut inside, so we don't really need that left-footed balance there anyway. So yeah, maybe those two miss out. Doesn't sound particularly promising with regards to Elijah either, and his is definitely a hamstring that we know of, so again, it just makes sense. Maybe if he's okay for the bench with Elijah, then fair enough. But we're not sort of lacking in attacking areas, are we? We didn't actually, of all the statistics we put out in the review for the Liverpool game, we didn't actually mention that Luton have broken the record now for 13 games consecutively scoring for a promoted side in the Premier League. So we're on the right, and of course one of those is against this lot. So we're on the sort of right lines, even without Elijah, and I know it was Elijah who scored the goal against them, but we have got options up there, haven't we? Obviously Corley's playing well at the minute, Carlton's playing absolutely fantastic, Andros Townsend was really good in that game as well, came off the bench against Liverpool. Maybe it's time to get him back in the starting lineup, and we could play Chio that further forward as well, against they defend high, don't they, Man City? If we're going to counter-attack in the way that Chelsea did, having Chio up there in the way that Raheem Sterling kept Kyle Walker. We wanted that battle, didn't we? Chio against Kyle Walker. We didn't get it because Chio was injured. Maybe it's time that we get that battle.
Yeah, I hope so. Neither of them but the fastest player anymore, though.
No, is it Van der Ven, is it?
Mickey Van der Ven,
yeah.
Clocked it, which
we'll come up against him.
I didn't see that coming, to be honest.
No, we'll come up against him a bit later and all.
So yeah, it is a battle that I would really like to see. I think everybody else would. It'd be a exciting one, that, because I think Chio in full flow, it's very exciting, and I think even Liverpool and the Liverpool fans and the commentators got a good look at him yesterday when he did it a couple of times, and one particular one where he knocked it past the fullback and ran onto it into a lot of space.
Wasn't it?
Yep, correct. And if you get in those sorts of spaces, then it's exciting for Luton. Yeah, I hope so. I think it all hinges on whether Hashioka plays, doesn't it? Because it gives that option to play him further forward. I think he's going to be very occupied in a defensive sense if he plays further back. That's not to say he's not going to be occupied anyway in a defensive sense, because Man City are going to have a lot of the ball, but he'll be a bit further up the pitch, hopefully, doing it.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to counter-attack, aren't we? You just said we're not going to have much of the ball. We'll probably try and be our brave side, go 3-on-3 on the back and all of this that we've been doing recently, but we are ultimately still going to have to do it from slightly deeper. So having Chio a little bit further up the pitch to influence the game will do no harm. Certainly if Townsend's in the side as well, it just adds a little bit more sort of experience and balance to proceedings, and it'll be interesting to see how Townsend and Hashioka work down that right hand side if indeed Hashioka does start the game. So yeah, we're expecting a kind of changed Luton side for this, but not necessarily a dramatically weaker one. I mean, obviously any Luton side without Sambi Lokonga in it is weaker, but not to the extent that we sort of changed it against Exeter or against Bolton, or because we left Sambi out in the replay of that tie. So much changed Luton side, but still a side that's more than good enough to hold its own and be competitive. And then it's for the crowd to do their thing, really.
Who do you think comes in if Sambi doesn't play then? Because last time they came down, it was Nakamba. He played a very disciplined role, as we know he can. The options, I suppose, would be Chio, Pelly or Clark to do it. What would you reckon?
Yeah, you're gonna have to get around the grass. And yeah, it's as simple as that. We're gonna have to be disciplined, and we're gonna have to get around the grass. So for me, I'd go Clark. Love Pelly to bits, and he brings so much, but not always the most disciplined. Gets around the pitch absolutely fine. Don't get me wrong, of course he does. But I just think Clark's got that little bit more sort of discipline, and he's also got comfort on the ball. A lot more comfort on the ball than Pelly again. And no disrespect to Pelly. When we do get the ball, we're going to have to keep it for as long as we possibly can. So I just like Clark in that role a bit. And I also think Clark will just allow Barkley to go and kind of cover him a little bit more. So yeah, Clark for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy with that. I think you're right in the sense of trying to beat that press or that relentlessness that they're forward showing, trying to get the ball back quickly. That if you're asking somebody to do what Sambi did against Liverpool in that situation where he had two players on him and he was the last man and he came away from it expertly, then I think Clark probably does that a lot better.
And you mentioned right at the start of this podcast, defensive laps or concentration laps or anything like that are a no-no against this lot. And I think that's where Pelly does sometimes struggle to get to the speed of the competitiveness of the game. Sometimes he's like thinking about what he's going to do, whereas you haven't got time to think about what you do against these elite sides. They're on you before you've even started thinking, let alone the time that you are thinking. And I think he's still coming to grips with that part, and he will do, because he's done it in every other league, and that's absolutely fine. But I think Clark's just a little bit further ahead in that sort of sphere. So yeah, for me, Clark, and I think for you as well. So we're looking at a team somewhere along the lines of Krul, going from left to right, Bell, Burke, Osho, Mengi, Hashioka, Barkley, of course, Clark, Chio, Morris, Woodrow, or Chio, Morris, Townsend, depending on whether you put Morris up top, and somewhere along that sort of vicinity.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be harsh on Woodrow to come out again, but for the experience that Townsend's got and the way he played against them in the other game, then yeah, I think I'd probably go Townsend there.
Again, he just holds the ball. When you get the ball, you've got to keep it, because if they have it for 90 minutes, it's a long night at the office, whether we've had 6 days or 6 weeks to prepare for it. A long night at the office. So yeah, I would kind of go Townsend. I would save Chong for this one and hope that we get them into the deeper levels of the game where Townsend's starting to sort of fade a little bit, and then we bring Chong on the hour mark, much in the way that we did when Liverpool were in town earlier in the season. We brought Chong on, didn't we, with half an hour to go or whatever, and we all know how that went. So that's kind of how we see the team. How do we get at this lot? Well, I suppose we showed how we got at this lot first time round, didn't we? had Guardiola at left back. He's not going to be at left back this time because I'm pretty sure I read somewhere he's out injured for 2 weeks. But they do still operate centre backs at left back. He's got this thing, hasn't he, Pep? He revolutionises the game, and now all of a sudden centre backs are the new left backs and things like that. Probably Nathan Ake.
Is any of them Dan Burn?
If they want to sign Dan Burn, that would be absolutely bloody lovely, or Joe Gomez for that matter. But whoever it is at left back, whether it is Guardiola, whether it's Nathan Ake, whether it's a Kanji, whether it's someone that we don't know so much of, that's probably the area, isn't it? Because whether Chio's up against Kyle Walker or not, Kyle Walker's damn good at what he does. Diaz is pretty good. And if it's Stones alongside Diaz, well, good luck going in that direction. So it has to all be fed down that right-hand side.
Yeah, I think so. That's where so the damage got done for the Luton goal, wasn't it, against them? So I'd be happy with that again. I do kind of. I think Ake is quite a underrated player, to be fair. I mean, I say that with all due respect. They're all very good. They're all absolutely fantastic. And the fact that Pep plays him as much as he does, and he's an international player, speaks volumes for his talent there. But I think he's quite underrated. So I'd prefer it if it was one of the others. But still, you've got to utilise that pace as much as you can. And yeah, we'll see if they have. I was going to say we'll see if they've learned from that, but
we're different, aren't we?
We are, yeah. Luton are different, but also Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal. They're just going to play the way they want to play, and it's up to you to try and disrupt that. And not to say I don't think they'll know all about Luton's players. That doesn't strike me as a possibility, given Guardiola's control freakery over everything, and he's across everything, isn't he? Him and his staff. But in playing the way they want to play, maybe that does open up that space there. And if it does, you've got to exploit it.
And the other thing we need to do is we need to get Ross Barkley driving at this defence. If we can get him the other side of Rodri, which is easier said than done, particularly if Sambi isn't alongside him. But if we can get him the other side of Rodri, that's the thing about Rodri. He doesn't have pace. So he'll either foul Barkley and get in the book, which will be handy because that'd stop him from doing it again, or he'll let him go and go at the defence, and that's where you get joy. When you go at this defence, we see it from all the goals that they tend to concede. When you go at this defence with runners, which Barkley will have either side of him, then we can have joy. He had that one in the game against us, didn't he, where he turned out of their box of 4 and went on goal and just fizzed a shot just wide of the post. So those kind of movements we need a lot more of in this game.
We do, and if they're on the back foot in any way, I've got it's a gut feeling, that's all it is, but I've got a gut feeling that Barkley's got a long ranger in him coming up soon, so they want to step off a little bit. In recent games he's been looking to do it, and there just hasn't been the space, but the fact that he's eyeing it up says to me that he's going to nail one soon, and it'd be a good time to do it.
Absolutely it would, yeah. As I say, second time in 3 years the world champions have come to town. It was in this round as well that Chelsea came to town last time round. We rested an awful lot more players than I expect us to rest against this lot. So let's hope we're more competitive. We will conclude the podcast, as we always do, with a score prediction. Neither of us were close on Wednesday. Let's hope we get a bit closer here. Luton Town versus Manchester City. How does it end?
2-2 after extra time and Luton win on penalties.
I mean, what a night that would be. It'd be incredible.
Do I have to give you a score on penalties? Or?
No. We'll take that. Any win on penalties, as long as it's a little quicker than the shootout at Wembley. Because the longer that went on, I was getting up towards my knuckles for nail biting, not just the nails. So yeah, that's good. Desmond and then penalties for Jimbo. As I say, it does conclude on the night here, so don't toddle off early if it's level, because you will miss extra time and potentially penalties. 2-1 Luton for me. I've just got this feeling. We've said it all season that we're going to claim a scalp. We're probably not claiming the scalp away from home. So this is pretty much the last time that major scalp can happen. Yeah, they're bloody hard to beat. They're a damn good side. But the Kenny can be everything that we want it to be. You just have to think back to the Brighton game. We've had enough rest for this one. We're fresh enough. We'll give it everything. 2-1 Luton. I'd love it. 2-1 Luton will do me. We were 2-1 up on Chelsea, weren't we, in that game?
We were, yeah.
And then we just tired completely. I don't think we'll tire to that extent this time around. We're a lot fitter and we're a lot better. So let's go with that. 2-1. Harry Cornick's going to come back and score.
I mean, if you put your money on that, you can just kiss goodbye to it.
Yeah. I wonder if he'll be there. I don't think Jack Grealish is there. I think he's injured. Maybe Harry Cornick can be Jack Grealish for the night.
Well, that'd be good. No, he won't be scoring.
Well, he did score that night, though, to be fair, against Chelsea. That's it for this episode of the podcast. Let us know your score predictions. You've got an awful lot more time to let us know your score predictions for this one. Can Luton do what many will think is the impossible? Can we take the FA Cup from Pep Guardiola? Obviously, they did the treble and everything last year, but it was Nathan Jones, don't forget, who stopped the quadruples. So Luton, all we need to do, someone give the former gaffer a bell. How do we do it? And jobs are good.
Yeah, any advice greatly received.
Absolutely, indeed. Yeah. Most of all, though, enjoy the night. These are the nights that we all dream of as football fans. 5th round of the FA Cup, place in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, at which point we would be one win from Wembley is at stake here. And
loads of big teams out
of the way
and going.
There would literally only be Liverpool of the top 4 left in the competition if we take care of Man City. And even they're not guaranteed because they've still got their own tie to come through themselves. We are live on national television on Tuesday night. Give everyone watching on the full Kenny experience. I'm sure you will do. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. As I say, keep those score predictions coming in. Do keep subscribing to our YouTube channel. These podcasts are going to be coming regularly with all of the midweek games that we have coming up in March and things like that. So we don't want you to miss any of them. And if you subscribe, you'll get a notification when each podcast drops. Do remember that the Trust annual quiz is on the 5th of March, 1 week on from this Manchester City game. Tickets are still available, but they are going quickly. So do make sure you get yours if you want to be at the Eric Morecambe on Tuesday, the 5th of March. James, thanks for sitting alongside me and previewing this one. Here's hoping it's a fantastic night at the Kenny. It's all set up to be.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, come on.
Absolutely. Thanks to the Hightown Club for hosting our studio as always, to Sean Grant and the Wolfgang for our intro music, and to Ed Smith Creative for all the designs you see on set. Until next time, which will be the review of what we hope will be an epic night of football at Kenilworth Road. Come on, you Hatters, we can do this.
Can you believe it? We are Premier League! Yes!
I love this town. I love this town. I love this town. You know what I love about this town is actually you. Everyone in it has got this massive soul.
We're Luton people.